finished in 1900. It was built to be the first reading room of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It served as the university's only library until 1953. At that time, the Historical Society saw themselves with a reading room that was much larger than what they needed, so they decided to remodel the space and make it more usable for the modern needs. They took out most of the long library tables, which originally filled the room. They dropped the ceiling and removed the original stained glass skylights and put in fluorescent overhead fixtures. They took all the other lighting fixtures out of the room because these new fluorescent lights brought what the director of the Historical Society called the luminescence of fluorescence to the space, and lit it up as brightly as it needed to be lit. In 1955, their goal in doing the remodeling of the space was to try to make it more flexible and adapt it to modern needs. That was exactly the goal that we had when we did the rehabilitation of the room. And the only difference between what they did and what we did is we tried to do it in a way that really respected the historic character of this space.
The first thing to say is that the project actually started as a carpeting project. The carpet in the room was 25 years old. It didn't know anybody anything. We like to refer to it as an organic substance. So we knew that we had to take the carpet up, we had to take up part of the floor. At that point we said, you know, we really need electrical service throughout the room. And so we said, well, okay, then we're going to lay in a grid work of electrical on the floor. Well, we learned that at the time we were contemplating doing the floor, that the ballasts in the light fixtures were obsolete, and we would never be able to relight the room. Well, now we have a carpeting, electrical, and a lighting project. And at that point, everybody said, we really need to redo the room as a whole.
We planned this project for a year and a half before we started. We wanted to make sure we knew exactly what the reading room had looked like when it was originally finished, so we could understand what features we wanted to put back in the space and develop both a preservation plan and a rehabilitation plan for the space. We only had historic images to use as a reference point. There were glass plate negatives of all of those images, which are very, very high resolution, and we were able to blow those images up and get details of each one of the fixtures from those images and then produce drawings for the reproduction. Probably the most difficult issue that we faced when we were planning the project was trying to determine what colors to use in the space. There was to be gold leaf in the room. We know what their budget was for decorating, which was enough to have quite a decorative space. The floors in the building are covered with a beautiful decorative tile pattern. So we went back to those tile floors and developed a decorative paint scheme for the room based on the colors that were present in the tiles. The other issue that color-wise that we had to tackle was what color was the stained glass. When the skylights were removed in 1955, they smashed the skylights out with hammers. We have photos that show the littered glass laying on the top of the scaffold, and none of that survived. So the color scheme for the stained glass is basically our best judgment of what the colors of the stained glass would have been based on the black and white images. We had a lot of evidence about the glass that we could tell from the black and white photographs. We had a print blown up very large that we could see all the detail of the glass, and you could tell what the different types of glass were. There was a ribbed glass along the edge. There was a hammered glass in the field of the design. So by looking at this very carefully, we could match them up with modern glass samples and make sure we had the right textures of glass in each one of the places. We had to use some modern materials in ways that were unusual in order to make it work. The green globes on the reading room lamps, originally those were green glass that was fused to the outside of the fixture. In our case, we had to use car paint and paint it with car enamel to get that same appearance of that green glass finish on the outside of the fixtures.
We wanted very much to have a feel and sense of the 19th century, or very late 19th century aesthetic, but with all of the modern conveniences that any user would expect in the library. That preservation goal was largely met. From the library standpoint, the other major issue was to make sure that the reading room would serve our various constituencies well. The most significant innovation in the entire room, oddly enough, was electricity. The reading room has been incredibly popular. Our use statistics are up 35%. It has everything to do with the fact that at every single table there is electrical service. And that means that our users can come in, whether they're genealogists or students, can plug in their laptops and work. If you stand in the center of the room and look south, the room looks very much as it did in 1900. If you turn 180 degrees and look north, it doesn't look anything like it did in 1900. And that's that kind of melding of a 19th century aesthetic with a 21st century functionality. We like to refer to the outcome is that we have a 21st century library in the body of a 19th century library.